How many Google Ads accounts have you actually seen the inside of? Probably one, your own. Two if you're lucky. And that's the problem. The account that I'm about to show you live right now has spent over $250,000 in the last month across Microsoft and Google combined. US client, industrial, B2B. Now, there's a number in this account that contradicts every single piece of advice that you have ever heard about Google Ads. And by the end of this video, half of the metrics in your own dashboard that you are staring at are going to stop making sense to you. I'm Mike, Google Premier Partner Owner, 14 years in the game, over $135 million managed. Let me show you what I built. So just really quickly before we jump into this, I'm just going to show you the spends. 147,000 USD last 30 days. And then if we go over to Microsoft ads, you can see 90,000 in the last 30 days. So 240K, just under 239K. Now, the first thing that you'd see if you open this account today is the campaign list. It's what you see in every account when you open it. And for me, it's the first indicator and first piece of evidence that scaling an account isn't just about more budget. It's about more work on the right things. So inside of here, there are a lot of campaigns. There is a lot of different things going on. More than you'd expect for one account, probably, but maybe fewer than what you'd think for $150,000 a month. There's around 40 campaigns live, 35 campaigns live at any one time for this business. And every single one of them is named the same way. Because when I took over this account 12 months ago, that's not what it looked like. It was a shambles, it was unprofitable. If you look at the naming convention of this is just an example. Let's find this one because it gives you both of them. So M&A is how I label all of my campaigns. Every campaign is M&A. The Michael and Ad Train, that's the agency tag, my tag. Every account that I touch carries it. Then there's brackets that show lead. And that's because this business doesn't just want sales, it wants leads as well. Leads are often larger in value because they reach out. B2B industrial, it makes sense. If it's e-commerce, it's tagged as e-com. Then there's segmentation guidelines that I have and a bunch of other things. If you look at this here, ROAS, it depends on if the ROAS is greater than 4, then it's inside of that campaign. These are some more lead generation requests. This is dynamic remarketing to people who haven't purchased. Really granular is the point. A revamp here. Then you've got I just want to find this one. Desktop. So this means that it's targeting desktop only. You've also got feed only inside of here. So when we're using feed only campaigns that have no assets inside of it, like this, you'll see feed only. This is critical if you don't want to get messy when it comes down to your individual campaign structure. And at a glance, one glance, you know who runs it, what type of campaign it is, what device it's targeting, and what it sells. Every campaign is a sentence, and that sentence tells you the whole job in under 3 seconds. So whenever I'm scrolling, whenever the client's scrolling, they can see exactly what is happening and where. If your campaigns are still called things like Campaign 1 or New Campaign Copy, or a basic generic name, maybe your brand, maybe one of your services, that is not a small thing. That's the first sign that there is no system. And without a system, you don't have a strategy. You have activity, I guess. So then the channel mix. If we look at this, most of the budget sits inside of Performance Max, which generates direct return on investment from an e-commerce point of view. And just over 6% of spend goes on brand. If you're not covering your brand, that's an issue. That is a big issue. You should be covering your brand, especially if you're a larger business, because you don't want to be sabotaged and targeted by competitors. But Performance Max and every single budget in terms of spend inside of this account is actually by design. It's deliberately set at what it is based at. And here's the one thing that's going to upset, most people about the brand defense thing, is that when it comes down to brand defense, if you don't protect your brand and somebody searches brand name plus product type, then you're in big trouble. At scale, brand is needed, but isn't where the growth should be coming from. Organic search already absorbs most of the demand from people searching your company name, yes, but paid is the defensive sort of silver, the strategy behind it. It's just enough to keep the competitors off the top of the page on your own brand name, and that's it. Every dollar above that is wasted, to be fair. It should go to new acquisition, where new customers actually come from. But the campaign list isn't the most surprising thing in this account. The surprise is sitting in the conversions column and the ROAS number that you see in there. It's not the real ROAS. And here's the part that most people never see. This client isn't just one business really, it's two. So they sell physical products direct on the website. That's the e-commerce side of the business. I covered the naming conventions about this a minute ago. And they generate B2B leads from larger buyers placing bulk orders by phone or by quote request. That's the lead generation side. One account, but two completely different business models stacked on top of each other. And the conversion tracking inside of this has to handle both of them. We have to be able to see what's generated. Let's have a look at the conversions column. Most accounts that I audit are tracking one conversion, purchase, that's it, if it's e-commerce. This account has numerous different conversion goals. Let me show you right now from a purchase perspective. If we come through here, you'll be able to see. So we've got form submissions, we've got phone calls, and this is the last 30 days, which is why the data isn't updating in real time, because with the offline conversions attribution and their length of sale, it takes a little bit of time for the data to come through. But when it comes down to the purchase, which is the one that we need to focus on, if we look at this, you can see two primary goals. This would normally scream error, like you're double tracking, but actually it's not. What it's doing is it's populating slowly from the amount of offline conversions that the client actually has. Purchasers on the e-commerce side, they're in the top box right here. This is the actual conversions that are generated directly through the purchasers. From the form fills, from a lead generation perspective, phone calls, quote requests, new customer purchasers, whatever, however they reach out, each one is directly fed back into Google Ads with that different signal that shows that it's an offline conversion. But here's the part that breaks the dashboard for almost everyone watching. And that's the return on ad spend column. The one that most people use to judge whether the account is performing. The number is there, but it is not the real ROAS. Why? Half of this account's revenue doesn't come through the website. It comes from offline conversion imports. Phone calls that turn into invoiced orders weeks later, months later in some cases. Form fills that turn into B2B contracts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars for this individual business. And every one of those is uploaded back into Google Ads as a tracked conversion with the real revenue figure attached, weeks, months after the original click had happened. So if we take a look at like the surface level ROAS, some of them are decent, but you look at this like 2.39 ROAS and 3.27. It's actually a lot higher than that. It's well above 4 in terms of their actual return on investment, maybe even approaching 5 in some cases. In any standard report, it would show the partial picture. The complete picture lives in the offline conversion uploads that I've just shown you. And without them, you'd look at this account and think half of it was broken and it wasn't performing, when actually it's the highest value part of the entire operation, pound for pound. So this was the first thing that I focused on when I set up the account before I took over. Before I touched the campaigns, before I cleaned the naming convention, the offline conversion imports were the first thing that I focused on. Because every decision I was going to make for the next 12 months was going to be based on what the real data was flowing back into the ad account. Not website data, not sales data only, business data. That's how the money's been measured. Now, let me show you how it's been spent. Drop a yes or no in the comments if you're tracking offline conversions, because the gap between an account that imports offline data and the one that doesn't is the gap that knowing between what your ad spend is actually doing and just guessing. And what I'm going to show you in the next segment is what the discipline looks like at the keyword level. So now I'm going to open a campaign that's probably, this is just one of the lead gen campaigns. Let's find it. Here, last 30 days. So $4,500 spent inside of here. Now, when it comes down to, that's a lot of money just in general. You might be watching this and that might be your entire monthly budget. But this is just in one campaign. And I just wanted to showcase this to you because this is critical. These are ad groups, individual ad groups. And ad groups are effectively buckets that hold your keywords and ads grouped by theme when you do it my way. Each one carrying around 20 to 30 keywords. It can be more. Like literally the same keyword, exact and phrase match. So you have an exact variation and a phrase variation. And then what you do is you add cross negatives. So if it was like this 5S guide, for example, inside of this 5S guide campaign, one of the negative keywords inside of there will be 5S guide, but it'll be exact match. There you go. That means that they don't compete against one another. I use almost zero broad match anywhere. And here's the part that's probably going to upset people watching, to be fair. There's no ad groups where the structure is actually all crammed together inside of there. People have been pushing this agenda for the last 10 years about how keywords should be 50, well, like 10, 15 keywords inside of an ad group that are themed, that are broad match using automated bidding. And the reason why you don't do that is because at scale, that structure creates massive maintenance debt. You end up managing the structure instead of managing the spend. Now, I'm not saying it can never work. It does work occasionally, and I do use it. I actually think in one of the campaigns here, I've used it. But generally speaking, if you're trying to look after your pennies and make sure that no budget is wasted, use exact and phrase match single keyword ad groups. Trust me. This account runs tight thematic ad groups, or single keyword ad groups. 20 keywords, 40 keywords that share intent. One landing page for each individual thing, depending on what it is. But that's the key. But you've got to notice the pattern. And the pattern that isn't related to this individual campaign at all, but it's just everything, is look at the granularity of what I have produced, even with some of these that I've paused and moved into other areas now. When it comes down to this, the naming conventions allow us to identify exactly what's inside there. Inside of each campaign, there's like 30, 40 ad groups, which all have individual keywords. You don't break the account into 1,000 random pieces. You break it up into segments that mean something. So everything here is targeting something specific. You can see by the naming conventions, different requests, or the feed only labels campaign, or whatever it might be, floor marking, whatever. By funnel, stage, device, feed status, business model, whatever you need to name them by, that's it. And then inside those segments, you keep the ad groups or ad sets or whatever, it depends on the campaign type you're using. You keep them extremely tight, because that way you maintain control. The ads, the landing pages, the match types, the bids. Everything about that is the case. And speaking of negative keywords, every campaign should have a negative keyword like as a foundation. That's not an optimization, it's an obsession. You should be obsessing over the negative keyword element. You can go and research negative keywords in your industry, things you already know before you've wasted those budgets, and look up in 3 months' time and see, hey, like I'm in a position where I've just wasted $8,000 on this search term that I knew was already a neg. Here's what blew my mind the first time that I looked at this account a year ago. There was a lot in it that shouldn't have been there. Display campaigns, demand gen. Honestly, broad match targeting for asset groups inside of Performance Max, broad match keywords everywhere. Every campaign type that Google reps have been pushing for years. They were all running and they were all burning cash. The first 3 months of the rebuild, 3 months, takes a long time to rebuild, transition with a spend this high, and then ultimately train the AI the right way and feed it the right data. Half the work was deletion, not optimization, literally deletion. So today, there's none of it. We've just scrolled through them. There's no demand gen in there. There's no YouTube prospecting. There's no broad targeted Performance Max. At $150,000 a month, running an account where Google's own reps beg you to expand reach and enable AI Max and, do all of these things, we ignore almost everything the platform pushes. Why? Because at scale, you can see what those recommendations actually do. And what they do is they don't scale revenue. They scale impressions that look like conversions inside of the dashboard. And you think that it's helping your campaigns and projects, but it isn't. They make the report look impressive. They don't grow the business. This is the lesson. Scaling a Google Ads account isn't about running every single feature that Google offers. It's about doing the boring fundamentals at a level of detail that most people simply will not tolerate. Naming, granularity, offline data, CRM integration, negatives, match type discipline, brand restraint. That's the playbook. Everything else, the AI recommendations panel, the campaigns in generally speaking, maximize it, performance pop-ups. I don't know if you saw me get rid of one earlier. That is noise, and it's designed to spend your budget on things that Google wants you to spend them on, not that grow your company. The accounts that spend at this level don't run more features. They know exactly which features to ignore. That is the real skill. So you've now seen what 12 months of disciplined, high-quality work on a $150K a month account actually looks like. The naming convention, the brand split, the conversion stack, offline conversion imports that we use here, but you can directly connect to your CRM in different cases. They have a custom CRM, so we can't. The offline conversions make most reports look really misleading. If you have offline conversions and you're not tracking them, phone calls, etc., then you're not giving Google its true ROI. The campaign opened up and every campaign type Google reps push, sitting deliberately empty. You now know what to look for. Naming, offline data, negatives, brand restraint, the discipline behind the dashboard, the things that you have to use as a human being in order to be able to be successful on Google Ads. That's how you tell whether a Google Ads account is being run properly or just being run. If you've enjoyed this video, go and check this one out here. I'll catch you in the next one. Like, subscribe.